Hey everybody, welcome to this week's Deeper Dive where we take you guessed it, a deeper dive into the Sunday sermon. So this week we're going to take a closer look at Exodus 15:22 through 17:7 and talk about something we didn't talk about really in the message on Sunday, and that is who we see Moses to be in this passage. So if you'll think back a few months to when we were in our Moses out of Egypt series, you will remember that Moses was a guy who had some doubts. He had questions when God would ask him to do something. He had doubts in himself. And so he wasn't somebody who had a ton of confidence. And having doubts, having questions, that is totally okay. And we saw how God was gracious with Moses through that. But in this passage, we get to see the leader that Moses has become. And I think it's so cool to see in this passage, specifically in the two instances where the Israelites are in need of drinking water. I think it's really cool to see how God asks Moses to do something, and Moses doesn't really question. He doesn't really doubt. He just does it. In the instance of the first water problem, when God shows Moses the log and Moses throws it into the water to make the water drinkable for the Israelites, and in the second instance where God tells Moses to strike the rock, and he does, and that's how they get water. Those are things that kind of, on the surface of it, seem a little bit strange. Okay, we're gonna hit the rock, and that's how the water is gonna come out. That's not logical. It's totally having faith in how God is going to move and in what God is going to do. And I love that we get to see Moses take that step of faith and be obedient, even when what God is asking sounds a little bit strange, even when what God is asking might not follow his human logic. And so, yeah, I love that we get to see that Moses, the leader that Moses has become in this passage, the trust that he has in God and the confidence that he has, not necessarily because of confidence in Moses, but we see Moses has confidence in God and who God is because he knows him, and he knows him to be trustworthy and faithful. And so love that we get to see that, and hope that as we go through this week that we can look more like Moses does in this passage, that even when what God is calling us to might not make sense to us, that we have confidence in the character of God, in the person of who he is, who we know him to be, and that enables us to take the step that he is asking us to take, even if it's something small, or go in the direction that he's pointing us. Yeah, even if it's not a huge thing. I hope that we aspire to be like Moses is in this passage, obedient to God, trusting in what God is going to do and how God is going to show up, and that sets an example for the other people in our lives to say, hey, this the God that I know, the God that I serve, the God that I love, he is trustworthy, he is good, and I can take these steps that might not always make a ton of sense because I know who he is, because he is faithful, and because of that, trusting him makes sense. So thank you for joining me for this week's Deeper Dive. Can't wait to continue learning more about the life of Moses and this journey that the Israelites are on together. We will see you guys really, really soon. Have a great week. Bye.